the 2023 open-world adventure game Tchia, you play a young girl who must leave her tiny island home to rescue her kidnapped father. The world of Tchia is fictional but heavily inspired by New Caledonia, an archipelago east of Australia where two members of the development team grew up. In the game, your home island sits between two much larger islands, the less populated Oceania to the northwest, and the current seat of industry and commerce, Matz to the southeast. After the brief tutorial on your home island, you find yourself in Aemoon, the big city on Matz. A reclusive warlord named Miavora has your father, and the only way to gain an audience with him is to put together an offering consisting of a sacred carving, a dead chicken, braided trinkets, and other odds and ends. The game quickly puts you on a path up to Oceania to collect those items. Oceania is where Tchia learns how to navigate the world, from flinging herself from treetops to gliding over ravines to using her special power, possessing animals and piloting them along the mountains, through the ocean, and across the sky. Possessing animals uses up Tchia's spiritual energy, but this is easily replenished by eating the plentiful fruit growing all over the island, or visiting a roadside stall for a cooked meal. It is in the thick natural splendor of Oceania that most players will hone their feel for the game, becoming experts at zipping back and forth across the island and learning how to navigate. See, Tchia provides a map, but not your position on it. The game expects you not to mindlessly trudge from objective to objective with your nose to a minimap. Instead, you navigate by points of interests and, gradually, an innate sense for where you are on the island based on the slope of the mountains or which side the ocean is on. This design choice accomplishes two things. For one, you can't help but see interesting things in the distance calling for you to investigate, be it special fruits that upgrade your stamina, woven trinkets that you can trade for cosmetics, or mysterious caves hiding treasure chests, or even strange spiritual worlds. You are expected and encouraged to get sidetracked. For two, this choice makes you feel connected to the land. You'll plot your route via groves of trees that fling you high in the air, knowing birds also frequent those groves, giving you the gift of flight as soon as you're close enough to jump into one. Or you may decide that hitching a ride as a dolphin is the faster route for your particular porpoises. Sorry. In short, what this design choice does is prevent the world of Tchia from becoming a content mill dumping objectives into your lap on a conveyor belt. The world of Tchia is a world with trees that nourish you, animals that befriend you, and people who could use a hand. Collect clay to learn face painting, catch a crab to kick off a village feast, collect pearls as a gift for a local chief. But what I really wanted to talk about in this video is the genius of Tchia's pacing. See, in the game, you visit Matz first, but you don't really find yourself there. It's Oceania that teaches you the joys of being in harmony with this world, and once you've been steeped in that for a number of hours, you return to Matz. It's only upon this return trip that you understand what Miavora and his cronies have done to Matz. It's only upon this return trip that you can feel for yourself the damage, the violence. At first it might be little things like the tall buildings and winding alleyways disconnecting you from how you're used to navigating the islands. But then you'll come to a place in the shadow of a factory belching smoke into the sky where there used to be trees to fling yourself from and birds to inhabit, and you'll realize what has been taken from this landscape. You'll realize that on Oceania, you've been learning how to move in resonant harmony with the environment around you, one instrument in a vast symphony. Here on Matz, those other instruments are gone. If you're lucky, you can hitch a ride on a passing grasshopper or one of the wild boars searching fruitlessly for food among the spoiled coastline. But instead of feeling like a gleeful dance through nature, it feels desperate. By this point in the game, you can even summon a bird right to you, but it feels a little cruel to create a bird in a place where the trees have all been destroyed and trash litters the coastline. Matz is not beyond repair, but it's only after returning from her less exploited sister island that you can understand how precarious the situation and how urgent. This marriage of gameplay and world building got me thinking about another similar open world game I played in 2023. Tears of the Kingdom. In some ways, Tears is an obvious touch point for recommending Tchia. If you enjoy climbing and exploring beautiful environments and hunting for collectibles and outfits, both games scratch that itch. Of course, the scope and scale of Tiers is quite a bit bigger than Tchia, with a map more than 10 times as big and the ability to, build cars out of things you find in the environment. Tiers has a fully developed combat system, intricate dungeons, dozens of weapon types, a crafting system for special ability enhancing meals, and thousands of unique interactions between items in the world and those mechanics. Tchia doesn't have anything close, but then Tiers had 1,100 people making it, and Tchia had 12. And yet, for as technologically marvelous as Tiers was, for as fun as it was to build contraptions, for as generous as it was with its environments, set-piece shrines, and side content, I don't think I ever felt connected to the world of Hyrule in the way that I did with the world of Tchia. Hyrule has several towns, it has ancient ruins, old prophecies, and mysterious artifacts. It has side quests for reuniting lost lovers, helping local businesses grow, town elections, and healing the sick. It even has centuries-spanning mystical visions that paint a picture of the land across the ages. It has everything an open-world game should have to make it feel like a real place you want to explore. But apart from a quest to help a family cope with their daughter's independence, Hyrule never felt much like a real place populated by real people with real lives. The world of Tiers felt mostly like a giant sandbox for me to pilot my Zonai monstrosities in. And for me, that was all I needed. I put in about 100 hours exploring the map, doing all the shrines, lighting the depths, collecting outfits, and once I was ready to be done, I dipped into Ganon's little hidey hole, I did the needful, and I left probably 100 quests around the world untouched. In comparison, Tchia's quests are basically fetch quests, but something about them being delivered in a real language and based on a real culture and place made even these simple quests feel meaningful. I felt like I was part of the local community, especially when my quests ended in an entire village showing up for a sing-along. By the end of Tchia, I felt a real sense of responsibility for the future and sustainability of my homeland, and my only complaint was that there was no mini-game to clean up litter on the beach. And this is not meant to be a negative statement against Tears of the Kingdom. I absolutely love that game, and I think of it fondly. Instead, this is meant to convey to you the magic trick that Tchia pulls off, making me feel an emotional intensity with a fraction of the polygons and mechanics of its well-funded distant cousin. Tiers was an all-you-can-eat Vegas buffet with delicacies and delights as far as the eye can see. Tchia is a much smaller meal, but one cooked with stick-to-your-ribs love, a meal that makes you feel warm, cared for, and like part of a family. Tchia deviates from Tiers in one other important way though, and there's no sugarcoating it. In Tchia, children get hurt and die. And that's a mighty spicy flavor to add to your idyllic open-world island-hopping adventure. One minute I was a dolphin doing flips among neon-colored coral, and the next minute I was watching a terrified kid fall victim to Miovora. The cartoony aesthetics take a little of the edge off, making it feel a little more abstracted, a little more folklorish, but still, kids are in danger in the world of Tchia. And while that might make some potential players steer clear, I think the developers have a very good reason for introducing this element to the story. New Caledonia remembers what happened to her children not so long ago. See, this archipelago was the homeland of indigenous Melanesian cultures that would later come to be known collectively as the Kanak, people who have been living there since 1500 BCE and possibly as early as 3000 BCE. In 1774 CE, the first piece of Euro trash to wash up on the shores of what would come to be called New Caledonia was James Cook, perhaps most well known for fucking around and then finding out in Hawaii. Later, British whalers and French colonizers came sniffing around looking for sandalwood. But the mid-1800s exposed the Kanak to a different European industry: blackbirding. Blackbirding was the practice of tricking or coercing the indigenous people of the Pacific Islands into hard manual labor on behalf of European business interests. For example, Scottish colonizer Benjamin Boyd kidnapped 192 Melanesian people to work as slaves on his plantation in New South Wales. Indigenous Melanesians were forced to work on cotton plantations, sugar plantations, sheep farms, and as pearl divers. Blackbirding came to New Caledonia on its Loyalty Islands when French and Australian blackbirders began kidnapping children and shipping them off to plantations all around the South Pacific, including New Caledonia's own Grand Terre Island. While blackbirding faded away as a practice by the 1930s, the echoes of that displacement and death linger on all around the Pacific Islands. And so, while the world of Tchia is a fictionalized version of New Caledonia, it doesn't surprise me that a cultural revulsion towards child exploitation still found its way into the story. If you and everyone you know had branches on their family tree so cruelly ripped away, how could that violence not linger in the imagination? And this is where Tchia pulls its second magic trick. Because while the game is ostensibly about confronting Miavora and stopping his physical and ecological violence, it is so much more about the community and joy that is possible outside of a system of extraction and exploitation. Tchia is about sharing food, petting dogs, and singing together. It's about little rituals of gratitude and humility, and it's about how good it feels to be connected to the land that gives us life. Tchia has a combat sequence building up to a final confrontation with Miavora, but for me, the climactic gameplay sequence was the epilogue in which you walk through a rebuilt community with someone you love. Because life can't revolve around boss battles. Life can't revolve around combat sequences. Life is what we build in between crises, in between celebrations, in between the lowest lows and the highest highs. Life is the slapdash Monday night meal, curling up with a cat on the couch, a cup of coffee during a work break, a text to a friend, a selfie at the park, a little walk, a little fresh air. Tchia, in all its simplicity and charm, reminds me that while life is full of struggles, we shouldn't fight just for the pleasure of fighting, but rather we should fight to defend the pleasures of living together in community and peace. After all the fighting is done, we still have a world to take care of, and a world to be grateful for.